Have you ever delegated a task only to have it blow up in your face? You're not alone. Today, we're diving into the common mistakes small business owners make when delegating and also how to avoid them. I'm going to share one of my biggest delegation disasters and the hard lessons I learned along the way. Welcome to Small Business Big Visibility, the podcast empowering you, adventurous small business owners, to attract your ideal customers and boost your revenue. I'm your host, Jason McKenzie. Each week, we'll explore easy to implement tools and strategies to take your business to new heights and build the lifestyle you want. If you're ready for more profits and less stress, let's get started. Last episode, we explored the importance of delegating and why mastering this skill is critical for scaling your business. I shared how one comment, when I don't properly delegate, I get overwhelmed and frustrated, completely shifted my perspective. If you haven't listened yet, go back and check it out for the full story, including how I went from overwhelmed and exhausted to finally learning to let go. Today, we're building on that foundation by talking about what happens when delegation goes wrong. I'll share some personal experiences, break down the most common pitfalls, and most importantly, give you actionable advice to delegate the right way. Because trust me, when delegating isn't done properly, it'll lead to more stress and frustration. So let's dive in. I'll never forget one of my earliest attempts at delegating because it went about as wrong as it could. Last episode, I mentioned the time I hired someone fresh out of a coding boot camp and gave them a high-stake project with almost no guidance. Let me take you back to that moment and unpack what really happened, because it's the perfect example of what not to do when delegating. It all started with a client who came to us in a panic. Their website had been hacked. I knew this was an urgent issue that needed to be fixed quickly, so I decided I was going to hand it off to one of my new hires. I hired them because they seemed sharp, they were eager, and I figured, how hard could this project be? It's just a quick one. I gave my employee a brief checklist of steps, something that had always been enough for me. In my mind, it was perfectly sufficient instruction. After all, when I work on projects, I don't need or want much supervision or help. I assume the same was true for them. What I didn't realize was that my approach was not setting them up for success. The checklist did not provide enough context or detail for someone who didn't already have experience with this kind of task. And because I wasn't checking in or offering additional guidance, they were just left to navigate a high-pressure situation entirely on their own. A few hours later, I got a message from them. This kind of work isn't for me. And they quit. I was stunned. I thought, what just happened? The site's still hacked, project's still undone, and now I'm scrambling to pick up all the pieces. At the time, I blamed them. I told myself they just weren't cut out for this job. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized the failure was also mine. Now, this story isn't just about one project going wrong. It's about a mindset shift that delegating requires. Delegation isn't about giving someone the same tools or processes you'd use and expecting the same results. It's about recognizing what works for you may not work for someone else. The big mistake I made was assuming my checklist was enough because it was enough for me. I didn't account for the fact they were new to this type of work, or they might need guidance and support. Delegation is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It requires understanding the unique needs and skills of the person you're delegating to. Here's a few key takeaways. The first, clarity is key. Don't assume your instructions are clear just because they make sense to you. Spell out the details, provide context, and ensure that they fully understand the task. The second, support matters. Delegating doesn't mean abandoning someone to figure it out on their own. Be sure you check in, offer resources, and be available for questions. The third is adjust expectations. Not everyone works the same way you do, and that's okay. Your job as a leader is to adapt your approach to their needs, not the other way around. The good news is that mistakes like this are part of the learning process. Each time you delegate, you have the opportunity to refine your approach, build trust, and set your team up for success. Delegation really is a skill, and with practice, it will transform your business. Now, some of you might be thinking, Hey, Jason, what if I just don't have the right people to delegate to? Or what if I take the time to delegate and they still mess it up? Those are valid concerns, and here's what I've noticed. You don't need a perfect team to start delegating, you just need people who align with your core values and are willing to learn. And yes, mistakes will happen, that's part of the process. But every mistake is an opportunity to refine your approach and build trust with your team. Starting small is important. You can delegate small tasks that are important but not critical. You can provide clear instructions and check in regularly. Over time, you'll build that confidence in your team and in your ability to let go. Delegation isn't really about handing off tasks, it's empowering others with the tools, clarity, and trust they need to succeed. If today's episode resonated with you, please take a moment to subscribe and share it with other business owners. This week, reflect on a delegation experience that didn't go as planned. What went wrong? How can you approach it differently next time? Let me know your thoughts by tagging me in social media or sending me an email. Next time, we're tackling how to delegate effectively. I'll share a simple framework you can use to set your team up for success and avoid mistakes we talked about today. Don't miss it. Until next time, keep learning, keep delegating, and watch your business thrive.